Edwina Ashley, born into immense wealth and privilege, seemed destined for a life of ease and elegance. However, beneath the gilded veneer of her existence lay a tumultuous journey marked by scandalous affairs, restless wanderings, and a desperate search for purpose. After losing her mother at a young age, Edwina's life was a dizzying whirl of high society's glittering parties, secret lovers, and the profound loneliness that money could never cure. Marrying into nobility only amplified the drama, as her marriage to Louis Mountbatten, himself no stranger to controversies, unfolded into an open secret of infidelities and passionate liaisons that scandalized British society, enraging the King and Winston Churchill. Yet, amidst the chaos of her personal life, Edwina found moments of profound meaning and courage, particularly during the turbulent years of World War II and the historic Partition of India. Her story is one of stark contrasts: opulence and despair, fidelity and betrayal, love and loss, painted against the backdrop of some of the 20th century's most pivotal events. Join us this week as we delve into the life of a woman who navigated the stormy seas of her destiny with a grace that belied the tempest within. Edwina Ashley was born on November 28, 1901, into a world of opulence and privilege. Her father, Wilfred Ashley, was a distinguished Conservative MP, and her mother, Maud, was the cherished daughter of Sir Ernest Cassel, one of the wealthiest men in Britain. Despite the cocoon of luxury that surrounded her, Edwina's childhood was marked by loneliness and neglect. Her parents, absorbed in their own lives, spared little time for her or her sister Mary. Tragedy struck when Edwina was just 11 years old, as her mother succumbed to tuberculosis. The loss left a gaping void, soon filled by a new stepmother, Molly, a woman 20 years younger than her father and closer in age to Edwina. Molly's indifference to the girls was palpable. Seeing Edwina as a mere nuisance, she promptly sent her off to boarding school. There, Edwina's misery deepened as she endured relentless teasing from her classmates, and the vibrant, spontaneous girl found the school's rigid routine suffocating. In a desperate plea, Edwina wrote to her maternal grandfather, "Please take me away, dear grandpa, if you love me at all." Sir Ernest Cassel, a beacon of warmth in her life, responded with affection and took her into his care at Brooke House, the most magnificent home in Mayfair. The house was a testament to his wealth, with so many maids that one was employed full-time just to tend to the flower vases. Sir Ernest Cassel, a German Jewish banker who had bought the Mayfair property to distance himself from his immigrant roots and woo the aristocracy, had a passion for thoroughbred racing. He had become the financial advisor to the Prince of Wales, the future Edward VII, after meeting him at a race. Under Cassel's wing, Edwina thrived, playing hostess at his grand parties attended by the aristocracy and the world's wealthiest families. It was within this glittering social sphere that she became close friends with Gloria Vanderbilt, and at a party hosted by the Vanderbilts, she met her future husband, Louis Mountbatten, affectionately known as Dickie. Dickie, connected to nearly every monarch and prince in Europe, was the great-grandson of Queen Victoria and godson to the same regal figure. Later, his nephew Philip would marry Queen Elizabeth II, with Dickie and King George secretly playing matchmaker, ensuring that Philip would escort the 13-year-old Elizabeth during her visit to the Royal Naval College. Edwina and Dickie's meeting marked the beginning of a whirlwind romance. However, their courtship was shadowed by tragedy. Dickie's father died on September 11, 1921, and just 10 days later, on September 21st, Edwina's beloved grandfather passed away, leaving her the richest heiress in the world. 10 months later, in July 1922, Edwina Ashley and Louis Mountbatten were wed at St. Margaret's, where 8,000 eager spectators gathered in the square to witness the union. The Prince of Wales stood by as the best man, and even King George graced the ceremony with his presence. Their honeymoon was an opulent 6-month journey around the world. In Spain, they were honored guests of King Alfonso and Queen Anna. In Manhattan, the Vanderbilts rolled out the red carpet, and in Hollywood, they mingled with the glitterati, including Mary Pickford and Charlie Chaplin. Upon their return to London, Edwina's immense fortune and noble pedigree propelled the newlyweds into the stratosphere of high society, crowning them as the it couple of the 1920s. Their home became a sanctuary for the elite, with luminaries like Charlie Chaplin, Noel Coward, Winston Churchill, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., the Prince of Wales, and Mrs. Simpson among their frequent guests. On the surface, their marriage seemed the epitome of perfection. However, beneath the polished exterior, they shared few true commonalities. Dickie's heart belonged to the sea and the spoils of the good life, a passion so intense that as First Sea Lord, he designed their bedroom to mimic a ship's stateroom. Edwina, having been raised in the lap of luxury, was immune to its seductions and found herself restless and unfulfilled. Initially, their marriage was marked by a fervent physical connection, with Louis affectionately dubbing his wife's breasts Mutt and Jeff, after the campaign medals of World War I soldiers. They welcomed 2 children into their lives, but as Louis resumed his naval duties, Edwina immersed herself in the glittering world of Chanel boutiques, bridge games, and Charleston dances that stretched into the early hours with companions like Fred Astaire. Despite this glamorous facade, a void gnawed at Edwina's spirit. One friend observed, for Edwina there was always something missing. She didn't know what it was or where it was, but she was determined to find it. In her quest for fulfillment, Edwina sought solace and excitement in the arms of numerous lovers, weaving a tapestry of romance and scandal that would become legendary. Though she adored her daughters, after Patricia's birth, Edwina confided to her diary, a divine little daughter, too thrilling, too sweet, only to then delegate their care to nannies and escape to the glittering revelry of the south of France. Her razor-sharp mind and vibrant personality clashed with the confines imposed by her gender and social position, leaving her restless and unfulfilled. She kept several lovers at a time, their presence a poorly kept secret among the inner circle. On one particularly chaotic occasion, a maid at their Mayfair mansion was at her wit's end when Edwina bustled in from a shopping spree to find 5 gentlemen callers awaiting her. The maid reported, "Mr. Gray is in the dining room, Mr. Sanford is in the library, Mr. Phillips is in the boudoir, Signor Portago is in the anteroom, and I simply don't know what to do with Mr. Molyneux." The inner circle, save for her husband, referred to her lovers as Edwina's ginks. One of Edwina's longest and most emotional affairs was with Bunny Phillips. In a twist of entangled passions, Dickie not only befriended Bunny, but also began an affair with Janie Lindsay, who was simultaneously involved with Bunny Phillips. Remarkably, when Dickie turned 60, he had an affair with Janie Lindsay's daughter, Maxine, who was just 18. FBI files suggest that some lovers were shared between Edwina and Dickie, and that Dickie had numerous male lovers, some of whom were underage. Their children, deprived of parental nurture, lived amidst material luxury but emotional neglect, with Dad on the high seas and Mommy restlessly roaming the world. Her primary companion on these trips was often Bunny Phillips, whom the children called Uncle and thought of as a second father. Despite the lack of parental presence, the children received lavish gifts and played with a miniature train set made of solid silver. They had a menagerie of exotic pets, a lion cub, a mongoose, and a pair of wallabies that fed on orchids and were never housebroken. On one occasion, Edwina took the children on a continental tour, depositing them in a Hungarian hotel with a governess before disappearing for months. When she finally decided to retrieve them, she couldn't recall the name of the hotel. After retracing her steps, she ultimately found them. Later on, Mountbatten would admit, "Edwina and I spent most of our marriage getting into other people's beds." After one of Edwina's transatlantic jaunts left American gossips in a frenzy as she was rumored to be breaking up the marriage of Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, the couple struck a pragmatic deal. They would maintain separate beds but remain deeply committed friends, endeavoring to be discreet. However, that discretion was fleeting. The most scandalous liaison chronicled in her diary was with Leslie Hutchinson, a bisexual West Indian cabaret pianist, the prototype for Downton Abbey's Jack Ross. Enchanted by Leslie's performance, Edwina, sitting in the audience with her husband and the Prince of Wales, became enamored. At another concert, she boldly removed her chiffon scarf, draped it around his neck, and kissed him passionately. Her affection for him was displayed through opulent gifts: a gold cigarette case, a signet ring bearing her coat of arms, and even a diamond-encrusted codpiece from Cartier. Their passionate affair ended abruptly when a newspaper hinted that a highly connected and immensely wealthy woman was having an extramarital affair with a colored man. King George, alarmed by the potential scandal, ordered Edwina to suppress the affair. They sued the newspaper for libel and won, likely through behind-the-scenes negotiations. Initially dismissive of World War II's impact, saying she would sacrifice too, and perhaps give up chocolate and painting her toenails, Edwina's perspective shifted dramatically as the war progressed. She found a profound sense of purpose and became actively involved with the St. John Ambulance Brigade, providing medical aid and organizing nursing services. She visited air raid shelters and hospitals, spearheading drives to gather much-needed items for the war effort. Her dedication and tireless work earned her the title of Dame Grand Cross of the Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. Despite her work, she still had time for numerous affairs, including one with Bill Paley. Her odyssey came to a dramatic halt in 1947 when she became entangled in a pivotal moment in history. After Queen Elizabeth II married Lord Mountbatten's nephew, Prince Philip, the Attlee government appointed Mountbatten as the last Viceroy of India. His task was to restore the longtime jewel in the British Empire back to its own people. When Edwina and Louis landed in Delhi, India was in the throes of partition from Pakistan, and anti-British sentiment and suspicion ran deep, even among their high-class contacts. That's when Edwina surprised everyone. She turned her charm up to 11 and won everyone's trust. She was quite marvelous, one aide recalled. She was almost better with women than men, and that's saying a lot. Jawaharlal Nehru was a lonely widower whose sole passion had been his country's independence until he met Edwina. They forged a magnetic connection, and perhaps for the first time she fell truly in love. She took great pains to keep her extramarital affair discreet, as Nehru's duty came first. At every opportunity, Nehru visited the Viceroy's residence for their clandestine meetings. In the afternoons, they would sit side by side on a secluded bench. Mountbatten would often accompany them, his presence deflecting attention from the affair. When duty separated them, Edwina wrote to Nehru, "I hated seeing you drive away this morning. You have left me with a feeling of peace and happiness. Perhaps I have done the same for you." Lord Mountbatten and Nehru shared more than just a relationship with Edwina. They were both under monumental pressure to transfer power to a country rent asunder by virulent tensions between Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs. In a whirlwind 10 months, they orchestrated the Partition of India and the birth of Pakistan, a task initially planned to take 3 years. Mountbatten chose to delay announcing the boundaries until after independence, resulting in chaos. The British were no longer in charge when the borders were suddenly revealed, causing widespread panic. Yet, on the day of the announcement, the British elite celebrated in grandiose style. On a balmy evening, Lord and Lady Mountbatten threw an extravagant party in the Mughal gardens of Delhi to mark the event. Thousands of tiny lanterns hung from the trees as native princes and British colonial officers wandered among the gardens, sipping champagne. Nehru had been India's first prime minister for less than 24 hours. Pakistan was not yet a day old, but beyond the genteel enclosed gates where the diplomats congratulated each other, the continent was ablaze with riots and enough blood to overflow rivers. The Viceroy had failed to foresee that partition would lead to 1 million deaths. As the conflict engulfed the continent, Edwina's bravery shone brightly. Famously, she ventured into the midst of violence, with snipers still shooting, to rescue bodies and bring them to the hospital. She visited leper colonies, organized nursing stations on the front lines, and did all she could to assist those in need. However, her humanitarian efforts were overshadowed by a political tempest. After Gandhi's assassination, the British Prime Minister saw a poignant photograph of Lady